Hello everyone, this is DN Model, and today we are continuing my series where I react to videos on my Watch Later playlist. We got over 1,000 videos to go, so let's not waste too much time here. Anyway, today I will be reacting to a 5-year-old video about Japan. Surely this has an age too polio. Maybe it has. Honestly, I don't know. Hmm. Well, let's see why Japan arrests foreigners 5 years ago, according to this guy on the internet. Let's hope this is an accurate source, and honestly, let's hope this actually makes a good reaction video.
915,000 recorded crimes. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Japan, one of the safest countries in the world. In fact, when it comes to
Oh.
crime in 2017, the Japan crime rate hit record lows with a total of 915,000 recorded crimes. When compared to the US, with almost triple the population, had a total of 8.9 million recorded crimes. For me, there's no better place to visit or even live, and probably why I've been here for more than 15 years. So if you've never been to Japan, then I definitely recommend visiting once, at least in your life. But before you visit, you might want to know why Japan arrests foreigners. Well, the simple answer is when many foreigners come over, they simply fail to understand Japanese laws, their severity, and the overall judicial system until it's too late. And believe
Video quality doesn't seem very
this
good
video is
here.
brought to you by Squarespace. Japan, one of the safest countries in the world. In fact, when it comes to crime in 2017, the Japan crime simple answer is when many foreigners come over, they simply fail to understand Japanese laws, their severity, and the overall judicial system until it's too late. And believe me,
I have a feeling this is probably a lot has to do with Americans. Unfortunately.
I've seen and heard enough stories of foreigners getting arrested that I wanted to make this video for you guys. So when you visit Japan, you don't end up arrested. Because the last thing you want to do, especially coming to Japan, is get arrested. I won't be doing this video by myself, but I've actually invited a real Japanese trial lawyer to help answer some of our questions today. And without further
Oh,
ado, let's get
good.
this thing started. So Yugo's finally here. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Yugo. I'm Yugo Ishibashi. I'm a Japanese lawyer. I like to consider myself as a trial lawyer.
Okay.
And I'm doing a lot of criminal cases. So today I would like to explain you about the Japanese justice system.
So maybe before we start about all of the different situations that foreigners could get themselves arrested for, maybe you can kind of share with me how the justice system overall kind of works here in Japan.
Okay. So if you get arrested, police will get you in custody for 72 hours. And within that 72 hours, they have to decide whether to detain you or not. The prosecutor will file a request. And if the judge approves such request, then you'll get detained for 10 days. And this 10 days, it could be extended for 10 more days. So in total, the detainment will last 23 days. And if you're a foreigner and you don't have a permanent residency, it's likely that you'll get arrested and get detained for 23 days for one crime.
Okay.
Of course, if you have committed another crime and if they arrest you for that, that will be 46.
So if you say you shoplift and then you also assaulted someone,
Yes.
23 days each.
Yes. Peculiar thing about the Japanese justice system is in most of the other countries, you can request for a bail if you get arrested.
Yeah.
So probably in the United States, you will get out of it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Probably. But in Japan, we don't have that system. You only can request a bail after you get indicted. You can see a lawyer, but you cannot get bailed out. You cannot get outside the cell. You have to stay in custody for 23 days. Maybe after the 3 days, you can meet your family.
Okay.
50 minutes each day. And if you get indicted, you may get detained for longer or they release you. If you get
Man, that's crazy.
arrested for doing shoplifting, for example, or a bar fight, it's a minor crime. But if you're a foreigner, you don't have a permanent residency, there is risk that you will get detained for 23 days.
So just like let me clarify this. Okay, we feel like you've committed a crime, then they'll take you to the police station.
Yes.
They'll hold you for 3 days. They don't have to charge you with a crime.
No.
Basically, they'll just interrogate you for 3 days.
Yes.
And within that 3 days, if they don't charge you with a crime, then they have to let you go, right?
Or they ask you for detainment up to 20 days. 10 days plus 10 days.
What happens if you don't speak the language?
Well, there's an interpreter, but 23 days, I think it's outrageous. Some people lose their jobs, lose their families. What happens during that 23 days?
Yeah.
The police will do some investigation and you'll get interrogated. No emails, no telephone. And although you have the right to remain silent, in Japan, the authorities construe that you have to be there when the officer questions you. So that's the difference, because my understanding is other countries, if you have the right to remain silent, you don't have to go through the interrogation. So that's also a big difference. So during the interrogation, you have to be in the room with the officer, and they will throw in questions and they will put pressure on you. Well, they will say like it's better for you to plead guilty, and they are accusing you for a crime. And although you have the right to remain silent, it's really difficult, hard to exercise it right. Also, one more thing: the lawyer is not allowed to be present during the interrogation. In other countries, usually the lawyers are with you, but not in Japan. They don't allow that here in Japan. So a lot of pressure. And that's why a lot of people confess, even confess what's not true, and thus the conviction rate of 99.9%. And this is called hostage justice.
Okay, what's that called in Japanese?
Hitojichi shiho.
Like they basically force a confession.
Yes, because if you...
So in other words, unless Yakumi is a total asshole for killing convicted criminals, because a lot of those criminals may have been falsely convicted. Of course, I already knew that because I watched a video by the film theorists several years ago about all that. So, yeah, no matter. Let's continue.
Maybe they would just tell you not to do it anymore, or maybe a fine. But if you plead not guilty, they will keep you for a longer period. After they indict you, you will be detained, and sometimes it could end up a year because they don't bail you out. The judge won't approve it. They want your confession. That's why it's called hostage justice.
You're better off just confessing.
Well, a lot of people will think that way. It's in a way rational.
Well, what about an embassy, for example? Can they do anything for you?
Well, they can come and they can probably give your message to your family, but not much.
All right, so let me just take a quick break right now and thank our sponsors, Squarespace. Without them, I wouldn't be able to all the different created was soon go there based on our website. Foreigners get a shopkeepers ban. Let's kind of talk about theft. That's one of the common reasons why foreigners get arrested here in Japan.
Yes.
So someone goes into a shop, they go and take an item, the shopkeeper sees them, they get stopped. What's the process there?
Well, they will call for police. They will take you to a police office nearby, and probably you'll get arrested, detained, and the process I explained to you earlier, the 23 days. And also, if you ask for a lawyer, they usually have interpreter, but there is a language barrier. And usually, if it's a theft and if he's pleading guilty, and if he has a lawyer, we are trying to make a settlement with the victim, trying to compensate. But recently, a lot of stores, those big stores, clothing stores or merchandise, they refuse to settle. The reason for that is because the damage caused by shoplifting, it's a huge amount. They don't want to settle anymore, and they want to be more strict on the punishment.
It's a warning sign to everyone else that's trying to shoplift.
The difference between the Japanese and the foreigners is the foreigners, especially those sightseeing tourists, they don't have a permanent residency. There is a risk of flight if they don't live in Japan. So that gives reason, authority to arrest and to detain them.
Wow.
So it's a funny thing.
Well, that is quite reasonable in my opinion.
If you get convicted, for example, you were guilty, but it was a a minor offense, so court tells you to pay a fine, but you already spent like a year in jail. Well, the crime you committed was a minor, small crime, but still,
Well,
they will put you in jail half a year to or even longer.
Until you
oh
confess.
man, oh, now that's rough. Ugh. Man, oh, now that's real tough right there. Things that bug at you right there, yeah. I'm adding zero substance to this. Absolutely zero substance. But you can tell that I've not watched this video before. Because if I had, I wouldn't be reacting to it. It's just if I had known that it would literally just be a conversation between two people about law.
Yes, and many times people ask me, should I confess even I haven't done it? But as a lawyer, it's really hard to say.
There's one thing I wanted to talk about. It was two roommates, and one of the roommates actually got some drugs sent to their apartment because both of them are living in the same space. They both got detained or arrested.
I think it's a matter of how strong that evidence is. If there's no evidence, they cannot arrest you, and there's no reason to arrest you. So there must be some kind of evidence. The question is, how strong is that evidence? For example, of what you have told me now, they found drugs where those two people were living, right?
Yeah.
So there is suspicion.
But it was only sent to one person.
The other guy says, right? Of course, if the situation shows, for example, if they go through your computer, they will check your email, and if they find like email exchanges with the other person and the person who sent those drugs, then probably you can say, I didn't do it and there's no evidence. They will release you, or they will decide not to indict you.
But what happens if you don't give them your password?
Oh, that's interesting. For example, iPhone.
Yeah.
If you don't give them your password, pass number, they cannot open it. Not even the FBI can open it, I heard. So there are people who refuse to give their password.
So you can do that on a computer as well. You don't have to give them your password.
No.
What about your thumbprint?
You can refuse.
What happens if they force your thumb onto the phone?
They are not allowed to do that. Thumbprint, or refusing to give your ID or urine test, not allowing them to search your bags. You have the right to do that. And if you have a strong will, then probably you can go over that. But it's not easy for, how do I say, regular people.
So let me get this straight. So if someone gets caught with drugs, within those 23 days, if they do confess to that crime, and then once they're indicted, the court process, how long could take?
Well, if you're pleading guilty, it will be 2 months to 3 months.
Okay, so on top of the maybe 3 weeks you've spent, you can spend another 2 months in jail.
Well, if you're in Tokyo, it will be Tokyo Detention Center. Well, you can request a bail.
You can request bail at that time if you're going to get indicted.
If you have somebody who could
pay for the bail.
Pay for the bill, and if you have a friend, somebody who.
Okay, we'll vouch for you.
Yes.
So you get 2 to 3 months for the trial, and once that's completed, they sentence you.
You get sentenced for, let's say, half year, 6 months, or a year, with 3 years of probation.
Yeah.
But then there's the visa issue. That's a different matter. The immigration center cancel your visa, and then they will ask you to come to the immigration office, and there you get detained again.
How long usually?
Well, if you can afford your own ticket, then not long. Otherwise, you will have to wait until there's a special airplane for deportation.
That's pretty serious, right?
It's serious, yes. Actually, not the crime itself that is serious. I think it's the system. I've seen people, foreigner, they got arrested for shoplifting onigiri, a rice bowl. For one rice bowl, he was detained for almost a year, and after that, he was deportation. So,
do you think marijuana, cocaine is drugs? Is that something that's common for foreigners to get arrested?
Well, not only foreigners, also for Japanese people.
But it is.
It happens often. Theft and drugs, even a bar fight. For example, if you were fighting against a Japanese and the police comes, of course, they will listen to this Japanese guy because they can communicate.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Honestly, I guess the most unreasonable thing is, the amount of time you get detained and all that. I mean, that's a bit extreme, but none of that. I say everything else is quite reasonable, quite good, quite good, quite reasonable. I mean, honestly, one thing to take away is that you just don't commit crimes. Okay, like just Izzy, just like how hard is it to not commit crime? I mean, Sissy, not. I mean, that's just
The
kind of
thing is,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
persecute.
Like
If you
that
can't explain your
just
story.
so many people decide to just shoplift and all that. I mean, no, you don't shoplift, especially if you're currently in a foreign country. I mean that's just stupid and all that. So yeah, just follow the law and all that. Of course, in some countries, the law is, a bit more difficult to follow and all that. But yeah, honestly, for the most part, just, learn about the laws in the country you're visiting and follow them and just, keep your head down, stay out of trouble, and, enjoy your time and all that. Mm.
Their story, they can explain their story. The police will just probably hear that one side. So what do?
They can arrest you. The same with the drugs.
So if the Japanese person says, "Oh, he hit me first, he assaulted me," the police can just arrest you.
Yes.
And
But there's
Mm.
also cameras around, so if you could
Mm.
prove that your story is true,
okay. So if you do get in a fight and you did hit someone first, you're gonna go down this path.
there's a possibility.
Yeah.
But of course, it doesn't mean necessarily that you get arrested.
They may let you go.
Yes.
So let's talk about graffiti.
Ah,
Okay.
I'm in Shibuya. I see it all around. Is it that bad?
Well, you can get arrested
Yeah.
if you get caught doing that, and the same thing can happen. 3 days arrest, and then 20 days of detention. But usually within that 23 days, and if he's pleading guilty,
Yeah.
we will try to contact those owners
Yeah.
of the building and negotiate with them and get into a settlement. If that succeeds, they will be released.
Like graffiti is pretty serious.
Yes.
It's not just like, oh, I just painted something.
No.
Forgive me.
No. And it's also, I've seen some cases. Those people I met were misled by the false information. Information says Shibuya is a free city. They are welcome to do graffiti. So graffiti artists, they gather to Shibuya and do their paintings, and the police comes by, friendly hello, and then they get arrested
Oh, really? That's happened?
because they think they are welcome.
Because you see it everywhere.
Well, theft or graffiti, fighting, drugs.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not drugs, but other things. There are also a crime in other countries, not only Japan.
Yeah.
But what makes it so serious is not the crime itself, it's the system.
If someone does commit one of these crimes here in Japan, what should they do?
What you should do, it really depends on the situation, so I can't really say like you should do this. But you ask the police officer and they have to call for a lawyer.
Okay.
First time it's free.
Is it okay to not say anything?
I tell my clients to remain silent. There's no point in giving information to your opponent, right?
So if you guys have any more questions on this, I'll leave some information in the description of the video. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
well, I guess that's enough for that video. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, check out this guy's channel, and all that. Well, guess that's enough. Well, I guess we'll try reading some comments. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the punishment is definitely quite extreme for the crime, and like, and yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the big problem is, just how, harsh the punishment, so, that. Mm. But on one hand, harsh punishments can deter people from committing crimes. So it can work. No harsh punishments. But then again, the always is of becoming too draconian with your laws and all that. Well, enough of me yapping. Let's end the video now. Goodbye.